I think the New Testament makes it clear. There's at least 25 references in the New Testament that speaks of the various degrees of punishment and or reward in heaven relative to the degrees of sinfulness of sin. Even though all sin is sin, there's still a clear distinction in the New Testament between those sins that are covered, the multitude of sins that love covers, that the Roman Catholic distinction between mortal and venial is not something that we would hold, but it's a distinction that we would agree with in part, that at least there is a difference between less and greater sins. And the New Testament follows that again and again. And the point that we're talking about here is that we are heaping up our sins against the day of wrath, heaping up wrath, piling it up, treasuring it up, according to the Apostle Paul. And so it's not like if I've commit one sin, I've heard of guys say, well, I've lusted after, or I've already committed that sin, so I might as well go ahead and finish the action. No. You're just entering into a more egregious violation of that previous sin. I once heard a psychiatrist speak a refutation of the ethics of Jesus, because Jesus said that every sin is equally heinous. He says, and anybody knows better than that. And I said, Jesus never said that every sin is equally heinous. Jesus said that every sin is real sin and violation of the character of God and all the rest. But even when he says in his explanation of the Sermon on the Mount that if you lust after a woman in your heart, he doesn't say that's as bad as actually committing adultery. But what he is pointing out is that even if you've refrained from the actual act, does not mean that you have been totally obedient to the commandment. And so Jesus expands the implications and repercussions and consequences of the commission of sin, showing that the Pharisees in their oral tradition had a simplistic understanding of the prohibitions of God. But Jesus never said that all sins were equally heinous.
Yeah, just to add a couple verses, Hebrews 2 and 3 says, every sin shall receive a just recompense. So each individual sin would have the proper consequence to that sin. Some sins are greater, and there's a greater condemnation than others. And we see that established in the Mosaic law, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. It means that the punishment fits the crime. It's not an eye for a tooth or a tooth for an eye, but an eye for an eye, meaning if you take out someone's eye, then you must replace that eye, so to speak, or a tooth for a tooth. And it's a matching up of the punishment for that sin. And under the Mosaic law, there were, I can't remember the exact number, but it's 21, 23, something like that. Sins deserved the death penalty, where other sins did not deserve the death penalty. So there's a distinction in God's justice as he metes out the punishment for the crime. What is true in time will be true in eternity.
Yeah, Paul tells us about God's judgment being to each according to his deeds committed in the flesh. If it's according to each, that would indicate an individual judgment in which there would be some variation. No one found innocent of anything less, that is, guilty of an infinite assault upon the holiness of a righteous and omnipotent God. But I think R.C. put it exactly right. Even in the Sermon on the Mount, it's false to say Jesus said this is all the same.